Hello and welcome to I Am Geek, and this is episode 124. We're back here with you. This is actually the week of Halloween that this will be coming out. So happy Halloween, I guess, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
I'm Ryan. I'm joined by my brother Chris and our good pal Katrin, and tonight we have a very special guest.
Oh.
My life would be completely different if I hadn't have met this man.
So much better.
You know?
Bless him, Lord.
Man.
Bless him.
I would still be single, pretty much, right? Because
Yeah, what?
So much better.
Are you married to him?
No. Tonight we have a very special guest, Tommy Campbell. He is actually the person that officiated my wedding. So he married my wife and I off.
Huh. That's interesting.
18 years ago.
News to him.
Oh, hello, Tommy. How you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm just so excited to be here with you all. I think. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, don't say that yet.
Yeah. Give
This
us time.
This is Tommy's very first podcast he's ever done. He didn't even
That's
know
right.
what podcasts were before this. He's like,
That's not right. Hello. Thank you very much, Ryan. I am Tommy Campbell. It is October 24th, 2019, and a very merry welcome to everyone on this podcast. You were asking, Ryan.
But Tommy is so my wife, he was my wife's youth pastor.
That's right.
Long
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
It's it makes me feel old thinking about how long ago that was. Me personally, because I'm 41 now, so that would. Whew,
A
man.
baby. Just
Yeah,
a baby.
I'm just a baby. Yeah,
Old baby.
an old
So-
old baby.
Yeah. So is everybody going to tell their ages?
No, we don't have to.
I'm not sure what mine is. I stopped counting.
That's
Well,
right.
Katrin's 41 like me,
That's right.
and then Chris is.
I'll be 39.
Yeah,
Mm.
such a
Wow.
babe.
Yeah.
That's
My baby
exciting for you
face.
all.
But Tommy, you were in ministry for 30 years.
Yes, I was. I sure was.
I do my homework.
Student pastor for 34 something years. It's kind of became a blur, but yeah, it was awesome. I was called to ministry when I was 16 and just loved it, passionate about it, and just really, I mean, there's always difficult times,
Yeah.
but I loved it. Just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I was full-time ministry for 16 years, and you got me beat on that. And now I travel around and lead the music for churches in various places, which I like a lot better.
I still have some CDs that have been put onto my digital music of some music that you did a long time ago.
Oh,
Look out.
And I pull it out and listen to it pretty regular.
oh,
Wow.
I
cool.
do. Yeah.
That makes me feel nice. Yeah,
Well, yeah. Well, it's good. It's good quality.
oh, good.
Oh.
It's funny. One of the intro and outro for our podcast is a instrumental version of one of the songs that I
Really?
did. Yeah, and the funny thing is, so we put this on YouTube, and we got a copyright strike saying that we were taking somebody else's music, and I'm like, no, I
saw
wrote
that.
that. Yeah, I wrote that song. So it was. I had to contact the company, and they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. The last note was the same note." I'm like, "You what? You based it on one note?"
Resolved this now, right?
Yeah, it's
This
all
is
resolved.
all resolved.
All resolved. Yeah.
That's
So they
too
said,
good.
"Sorry, our fault. Our robot that listens to our music got confused."
Yeah, all them robots.
Yeah. I'm like, oh
So
god.
you sleep better at night, right? You sleep better.
Yeah.
Oh, that has nothing to do with his sleep. He doesn't sleep at all. So
No.
But so after 34 years or so, you decided, you know what? It's time to hang up the ministry hat and become a model/actor, like
Well,
everyone does.
make lots of money.
Yes, they make lots of money. Well, actually, now I don't want to go all spiritual, but I mean, basically, I just knew it was time to step out of ministry.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting in church one Sunday taking notes, and I mean, it's as clear as we're talking right now. And I just knew it was time to step out. And like I said, I was called when I was 16. I was faithful to that calling, loved that calling. But my question that morning then was, well, okay, well, what's next? And
Yeah.
the answer was, well, we're not discussing that right now. It's just like yes or no. And so I started thinking about the financial implications of that, to be honest. And but then I just realized God will take care of us as long as we're obedient. So I said yes. Then I had to go home and tell my wife, who had the flu, that I had just
Quit your job.
yeah. So yeah, it was kind of weird, but I stayed at the church about 7 more months, got everything kind of done for that year, and got everything planned out for the next year, and was still not sure what was next. And basically for 8 months, I didn't get a paycheck of any kind. I just met with a lot of people, just kind of pastoring people. And it was about 8 months later. It was basically a joke. One of my former students from years ago is a professional photographer now, and he travels all over. I mean, he really is good. I'm not saying that to pump me up. He's good. He just, because I mean, photographers can't do much with this. I'm the old model on sets. Like, they have all these young guys and young girls, all their teeth look really good. And then I come walking on, I'm the guy that sits in the rocking chair with the dog and, pet the dog. And so I'm not, but yeah, it was kind of a joke. He posts jobs all the time. And so for years, I would reply to every post. He'd say, I'm going to be in Oklahoma City. I need models between the ages of 20 to 30. And I would always reply, send him a text, I'm your guy. Like, I'm young, and he would reply back a few hours later, you're an idiot, leave me alone. So I just kept doing that for years, and I did that 2 years ago, and I was waiting for his text. I texted him at 5:30 in the morning. He was going to be back here in Knoxville to do a job, and he needed young people. So I said, hey, I'm your guy again, young 55. About 2 hours later, he texted back. He goes, hey, I sent your picture to this company. And I'm like, what picture did you send? It was a Facebook profile where I went to see the Spider-Man movie, Amazing Spider-Man, or Spider-Man a couple years ago. And I got my picture taken by the bust of Spider-Man in the theater. And I just cropped that and used that as so he sent that, and he said, hey, they like your picture and they want you to come. And he said, they're going to give you free socks. And I went, I like socks, but I didn't quite understand that. He said, they're going to pay you. Well, I needed to get paid. And then he said, you're going to be a sock model. And then the Seinfeld kind of, George Costanza hand model things popped. So I said, I'll do it. And then I became the laughing stock of my family, my kids, my daughter-in-law, my brother and sister. Everybody made fun of me for a month. Just, you're a sock model. I went, yeah, I'm a sock model now.
I remember this. I remember Jennifer coming in one day and being like, guess what? Tommy Campbell is modeling socks. And I was like, are you serious? I was hoping that the story would be like, you're sitting in church one day and you decided to hang your hat up, and you look down and you go, man, these ankles need to be out somewhere.
They're going to take me somewhere.
He was out at a Walgreens one day wearing sandals, and he got discovered.
But we wear chacos here in East Tennessee. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking down and got those calluses on my ankles and that rough skin, and I'm thinking this could work for me. I could parlay these varicose veins in a very big way. So it was just kind of, and then my niece made fun of me. She lives in Nashville. She's young and married, and everybody in Nashville's all connected, and they're all hip and whatever they are. And so she sent me a thing. And she made fun of it. She goes, hey, now that you're a model, here's a job you could get that your age would fit this. I'm like, is this going to be like a around or a lift chair? And it was like for Tractor Supply Company. And so that made me mad that she was making fun of me. So I applied and I got that job, and it just kind of kept snowballing. And again, I was the old man on the set, and they had young people and dogs and farms and barns and tractors. And so that just kind of started snowballing, then which led to the TV stuff, which is just also goofy.
So how did that work? How did you go from modeling socks to tractors to being background actor? basically.
Well, I mean, Hollywood agents are looking for good-looking feet, and so it was a natural. But actually, it was another thing. A friend of mine here in Knoxville, we were just eating with him one night. She goes, "Hey, you know what you ought to do?" And I went, "I have no idea what I need to do." She said, "I got a friend that's a casting person for these TV shows they shoot in Knoxville." And I go, What shows do they shoot in Knoxville?" It's like this crime reenactment stuff, It's like on Investigation Discovery and Oxygen Channel and
Wow.
Headline News and Weather Channel. And I'm like, I had no idea. And she goes,
No.
"Yeah." She goes, "You would be great." She goes, "Because you're nice. You'd be on time. They'll pay you a little bit of money. You just have to stand in the background or walk across behind people who are important." And I went, "Well, yeah, I'll do that." And so she said, "Well, I'm going to call her and tell her you'll do it." And I went, "Okay." And she said, "You need to apply for some jobs. Go to this Facebook page and follow them and apply." And I went, "Okay." So I applied for a job in October, applied for one in November, never got a job. So December, a few days before Christmas, we're eating with this same family again. She goes, "Hey, did you ever hear from my friend?" I went, "Nope." She goes, like she was my mom. She goes, "Did you apply for jobs?" And I went, "Yes, Mom. I applied for 2 jobs." I said, "Evidently, I'm not what they need," which I don't know what that means because I don't know what anybody needs and I don't know this business. She goes, "Well, I'm going to tell her." And I went, "Okay, do whatever." So 2 days later, I get a email from this lady, this casting lady. She goes, "Hey, would you play a naval crime scene investigator on this show?" It was like 2 days before Christmas. And I went, "Sure." So they actually filmed it a mile from my house. So I just got in the car and drove down there. There's people from there's 2 actors from New York, some guy from Oklahoma. They're from all over. And this guy goes, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "I'm like a mile and 2/10 down the road." Yeah. So I was scared to death. And then they sent me contracts, which I never had seen. They sent me 2 scripts that were 150 pages long. They sent me call sheets. I didn't know what that was. So at midnight the night before, I'm in there trying to figure out. And then I realized I have a line in this show.
Oh.
I didn't want to.
Oh.
No, so I am scared to death. And I mean, I'm back there doing my line. It was so horrible. I said something like, "Report back to duty, Corman Davis." And I just knew that director was going to yell at me and say bad words. But I got through it. And so I just started applying. And I mean, they hired me. Like I had a job every week with this doing a different TV show.
Wow.
And it was just crazy. It just kind of kept going. And so I do background and feature background. Then it led to, they know me. So they're like, "Hey, you do several scenes with lines." And I went, "Sure, whatever." And my thing is I just go on and I just act like I know what I'm doing, even though I don't. I just go in, I act confident. I'm nice. I do what they tell me to do. And that's all I can do. So I go in. Sometimes I just goof off while I'm there too. So that helps me out. But so I did a lot of those. And then I've done probably close to 30 of those shows now.
Oh, wow.
And detectives, and I want to play a dead body is what I want. I want to be the body. I've got to lose some weight, and I've got to get better in shape because I am getting a little bit older. So, and then I started going down to Atlanta because I thought, well, I can go do some shows that I want to do, because I'm a big superhero person, Star Wars, everything.
Yeah,
so I'm looking for. My goal is to be on the Marvel TV show, the Marvel movie, the DC. That's my goal. So I go down and do things if it sounds good to me, if something I want to do. I got my son lives down there, my brother, so I got a place to stay. So I've done I guess about a dozen shows in movies in Atlanta too. So so it's been interesting. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've probably seen Tommy in the background of some of the things that you've watched. If you've watched Stranger Things season 3, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to squint your eyes.
Yeah, that's way, way, way in the background blurry. But I did make it, so
You did make it.
Yeah, and that was really cool. I mean, that was like a geek dream come true. Just being on that set because I'm a child of the '60s. I'm a youth of the '70s. I'm a college young adult of the '80s. I was born at the perfect time for movies and TV and stuff. And so
Yeah.
sitting on set, and it's Halloween Eve. I was on set of Stranger Things on Halloween Eve, going into Halloween Day, and I did the carnival scene, and I got there, and so everybody's got 80s looking hair, 80s clothes. They've got this full blown carnival that they, I guess, rented for several weeks. All the rides are going, all the food's being prepared. It's just this. It's like I was back in 1985, and it was hot during the day filming scenes, and then it got cold at night. But the whole time I'm just sitting there going, "This is incredible. This is awesome. I can't believe I'm here." And then they brought 600 other background people and kids and families to be the carnival goers like that night. And I mean, this place was just buzzing, and just everywhere you look, you just felt like you were back in the 80s. And I was just geeking out like crazy. It was one of the best days of my life, and so that was a cool experience.
That's cool. So how does that, like, when you have that many background and actors around, like how does, because I've never been on a set like that.
How do they wrangle that many?
Yeah, how do they wrangle? How do they direct that? Do they just say act normal, or what do they do?
I don't know. It's like they break us down into groups. Like I was a part of carnival workers and stuff. So there was about 60 of us. So we have a handler, like a production assistant guy or girl. And so they are responsible for us. So they have to get us to holding, out of holding, onto the set. Whenever we're supposed to go eat, get us there. And so they're responsible. And then usually they also have some responsibility in telling us where we're going to be, where we're going to stand, what we're going to do within the scene. And I don't know, I thought that the whole night, because there were tons of, kids, minors, parents, people, and there was a second unit shooting on the other side of the carnival. So they were shooting two parts of the show at once. And I was amazed. Whatever they do or however they do it, it's amazing that they can get that many people to do exactly what they're supposed to do, along with crews. And that, there's hundreds of people just on the crew, and everybody's doing their job at the right moment just to film a 30-second segment or a minute segment. It's amazing to me. It just blows my mind.
That's
so
cool.
It was, yeah. And they took me, I ended up on set at 1:30 in the afternoon and stayed out there till about midnight without a break, which is not normal. And but I loved every second. And when they started to take us in about 6:30 p.m., and as we walked back to holding, our PA got like a call, and they said they needed some of us back. So I went back, and when I went back, I stood. They said, "You stand right here." And so I stood by Carrie Ellis for like 3 hours. I mean, I'm right by him. We can't talk to the primary actors unless they talk to us. And so, he said hi to me, and said, "But and plus, I really don't want to talk to them too much because I don't want to say the wrong thing." And then they go, "What? Get this guy out of here! A punk! Get him out of here! What's wrong with him?" But that was cool because his chair was right behind the director, so I'm basically for 3 hours looking. When I'm not doing something, I'm looking at the monitors, watching them film the scene, and I can see it because they were filming inside that big. Where the Terminator guy and they get in that fight inside that ride.
Oh
yeah, the Gravitron type ride.
Gravitron. So I'm standing outside the Gravitron. So I'm right outside the door of it, but I can watch them film what's going on inside. So it's kind of like when we saw those scenes when we watched this season, it was kind of cool. I'm like, man, I mean, that's exactly what I was seeing on the monitors. And of course, they edit so much out, but it was just a cool experience.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So how the important question though, how was craft services on the Stranger Things set? Was the food good?
Great question. Well, I think yes. The problem was right when I got there. This is what's funny to me. To have a chance to get on that show, I had to grow my hair out for about 8 months.
Oh.
Because they wanted everybody's hair to be at least 3 inches everywhere. Yep. So you have to have that 80s look, which I'm sitting there going, I had a flat top in the 80s too. Like, not everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Had
big for a carny. All the carnies had.
Right. And I had to grow my. Don't get on the carny though now. But so I had this hair, and I went in there, and I'm just one of, there's like 700 background people. They spent an hour poofing my hair and working on my hair. And I thought, this is amazing. And then as soon as I got out of the hair chair to go to makeup, this wardrobe lady comes and goes, wear this hat. And I went, they just did like an amazing, like I wanted to leave and drive back to Knoxville and take my wife out on a date because I looked good with that hair all poofed out. And they put a Bahamas trucker cap on my head. So of course I wore it. You do what they tell you, but I was a little disappointed in that. But the food, we walked out of there and they said, you get something to eat. And as soon as I got something to eat, they said, we got to go to set. So I had to set my food down. And then I was out there till that night, like midnight. And so around 10:15, I went back in and they brought some more food in and it was really good. So the food is amazing on most of these sets. Like, I think a lot of these people do it just for the 2 meals that they get. Because it's incredible. Like, I can't even describe the amount of food and the different types of food they put out. Just for background people is interesting.
I gotta get on this train. I gotta find this.
Yeah,
some
you
acting
do, right?
jobs.
Yeah.
Give me some free food.
I tell you, the best fish I've ever put in my mouth was on the set of Watchmen. I'm telling you right now. Oh my goodness, that was the best part of that. Well, no, there's another part that was good about that, but I don't think I can talk about that. But anyway,
You will be on an upcoming. Hopefully, unless you get edited out. I think it's episode 5 of Watchmen. If I look right.
Yeah.
As the focus group moderator.
Yeah. Because you try to find parts too that aren't like the crowd scenes. I mean, that's it's just like a cattle call. So this was really cool because there was only 15 of us on this set. It was in a sound studio, and they built a conference room in Tulsa, and it's supposed to be a group of Tulsa businessmen in this thing, and so I'm in the back of the room. I'm the moderator, so I'm watching how everybody's reacting to something, and kind of taking notes, and so the way the camera was coming at us, it was coming through what should be the front wall down through the table. So I should be in that shot if they use that scene, just standing there in the back of the room, smiling and nodding, laughing a little bit,
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out. One of the things that you were, and I will probably never check out. I think Chris has seen it, but I don't know if I can.
I wasn't in the Joker.
No, I didn't watch the Joker. The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
Funeral director, huh?
Right. Well, yeah, I was there. There was an overnight shoot. I'm not real good at overnight shoots anymore, but I was in the way, way, way far back of this restaurant bar scene. And there's one place where you can barely see the side of I think you can see just the sliver of my head. But they had me do several walkthroughs of the lobby, just me with my luggage, act like I'm checking in. But they didn't use any of those. But that was a great shoot, too. That was a great group of people, crew, and they were very good to us and made a very long and difficult shoot really good. And the food was awesome on that, too. I mean, if we want to talk about what's the real deal, it's the food, and that was awesome.
Because that had I don't know, I haven't seen it, but Chris, I guess do you recall this scene or episode or?
It's been a while since I watched it, so because that was like last year. Now I have to watch it again.
Yes.
To catch the side of your head.
That's right. Well, you won't even catch it. I caught it because I'm like, that's I know where I was, but but it was good. I think it was the last episode of the series.
Silence lay steadily.
One of the main characters, she was in a bar talking to a guy. Yeah. So,
you mentioned earlier that you had a line in a show. Have you had any other lines in shows, and have you had to change your accent at all for any of the lines?
If they need me to change my accent,
well, not so much from a Southern accent, but just any other, ethnic accents or anything like that too.
Can you go more Southern?
Well, I have. I know that's a problem. I have done several shows where I had just like a single line. Then I did a show where I had multiple lines, and then I did a show. It was called ATL Homicide, and I actually had several scenes throughout the show with multiple lines, and they ended up using quite a few of those. I was surprised, and so, but I haven't. I haven't done anything where I had to change. I can because when I was in seminary in preaching class and communications classes, they would grade us down on regional dialects because they're saying, if you're from Tennessee, but you're in upper state of New York teaching, some people will just tune you out with that Southern accent. So during seminary, I got really good at kind of slowing myself down and, talking more like, today we need to look at what God's word says and then apply it. Like I could do that. But then once I left seminary and moved back to Tennessee, it was so quick coming back.
So once you're surrounded by it, it's
I know. So I'm really I would love to, because I'd like to do more stuff and push myself and challenge myself, but I don't know. When it gets into accents, I'm just not good. I can't do any kind of accent. I can hack preach, like, let me tell you now, I was going down there, and that dog is like, let me tell you, and I can do that. Variation of Southern accent,
there we go.
That's about the one I've got. So,
so I was just looking through your IMDb, and it just caught my eye. So before I forget, you got to play a mutant.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What was that?
Well, that was one of the best days of my life to that point. It was, I guess, that and Haunting of Hill House were the first two Atlanta jobs. So I got to do an episode of The Gifted, and I was a mutant. I wasn't like a mutant with, obvious. I'm like a mutant who looks normal, but it was like a crowd. It was like I think it was episode 1 of the second season of The Gifted, and there were probably 150 of us, and we were supposedly it's a housing place for mutants, and the who is it? It's like the kind of the SS or whatever. They come in their black tanks and they're shooting us and beating us, and so when I watched that, because that was a long day and a long shoot, I didn't see myself, so I was disappointed. But then I saw this SWAT guy running up the stairs, and I was right by that guy. When that guy ran up the stairs, they told me to take off running across, and then they shot this mutant with a catapult net gun thing, which was cool. I just loved it because I got to sit there and talk to these stunt guys, and these guys had worked on like Hunger Games, and because I just sit there and I go, "Hey, dude," I go, "So how long you been a stuntman?" They go, "Oh man, 20 years." I go, "What's the coolest thing you've ever done?" And then they'll tell me, and I'll go, "When is you were the most scared?" And it's just, I just love finding out these stories from people. But so I went back and watched it again, and I paused it right when the guy went up the stairs. So in real time, you can't see me, but when you pause it, there I am. There's my red shirt and my jeans, and you just go through it, and there I am. I'm running, boy. I'm running across the bag just for all I can. But in real time, you can't see me. I can see me, so
that's all that matters.
Well, now we know.
I got to be a mutant, and I got to
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm on a set. They've got all this, Sentinel stuff. These Sentinel guys are coming in. I'm just like, this is the most incredible thing.
So did you come up with like your own backstory? Like, these are my powers, and this is what's happening to me.
My powers were, me and a friend of mine sat there and came up with all my powers before. I know one of my powers was, get off my lawn, you kids, and something like that. We came up with some good ones like that. It wasn't anything great, like I can fly or I can melt and do stuff. It was all like, I'm an idiot kind of mutant powers.
The power of beautiful feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch this. I can add age spots to my face.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge comic book fan and all that. And yeah, one of my highlights of doing stuff, like I got to work on X-Men First Class. And so it's That's awesome. Yeah, when I saw that you had worked on The Gifted, I was like, oh, that's so cool.
I was going nuts, but I had to try that because I'm 58. I can't act too goofy on these sets. Like I have to be mature. But this other guy that ran with me across that scene, this dude looked like he was like 6'5", 6'6". He looked like an albino Elvis Presley, and he was probably late 20s, early 30s. And I mean, this guy was more excited than any human I've ever met in my life. He could not quit talking about being in an X-Men TV show. He was so pumped. And he just kept talking. So I went, I'm just going to let you roll, brother. And I'll just live through you, because I was feeling everything he was saying. But I'm like, you go on, you go on. And he was just shaking. He was so excited. And he wanted to slap fives the whole time and fist bump and that chest bump. I'm like, I can't chest bump. That hurts. And so it's neat. It really is neat too, the people you meet. Because some people, like there's a guy that day on that set, he drove from New Jersey because he's such a big superhero, Marvel person. He drove from New Jersey to get paid $75 for 12 hours.
Wow.
Right?
Oh,
But I mean, he's like, I'm going to be on this show. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Maybe we will. Background. But that was a cool day too.
That's cool because not only did you get to be on a Marvel show, but you were on a DC show too. So you got to live both because you were on Doom Patrol, right?
Yeah, I've actually done 3 because Watchmen is DC. I've done
that's true. That's true too. Yeah.
And I did an episode of Doom Patrol, and then I did. I actually did an episode of Stargirl, which is going to be on DC Universe. But it's the one time that I've gone to do a job, and I told my wife right before I left. I said, I've done a bunch of these jobs now. I said, there's always people on set, like the background people, who don't make it onto the set. I go, that's got to happen to me at some point. And sure enough, I left that afternoon, went down there to Atlanta, and ended up, I got on the set. But right before they started shooting, they said, we have too many people, and they took me off.
Oh.
Yeah, it was disappointing. And
never
Amy Smart was on.
now.
I know, me either. But yeah, Doom Patrol was cool. That was a long day. I got there like at 5:45 in the morning for like a 6:15 call time, and then I left that night at 9:30 from the set. And it was a long, hard day. But when I first got there, I was walking through the actual set, which they also film a lot of Stranger Things in this same. It's like an Emory University building. And so a lot of the lab stuff from Stranger Things, because I was watching even season 3, and they were doing some flashbacks to Bob, and when Bob got, and I went, that's the same lobby we filmed Doom Patrol in. But I got there really early, and I was walking to wardrobe, and they had this older gentleman sitting there, and I just thought he was another extra, and but he looked really, really old. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool that somebody can get over here and spend all day doing this. So later they pulled me out of holding and put me in a holding to get ready to go onto the set. And they brought that guy out and put him right in front. There's 4 of us sitting there, and they put him right in front of me. Like I wouldn't even have to reach out and touch him. Like I could barely move my hand forward, and I would hit him in the face. And so I'm like, well, they put him right here in front of me. And so I'm just sitting there kind of looking at the side of his face. And the lady beside me, she elbows me. And so I look at her, and she mouths to me, because she can't say it out loud. She mouths, do you know who that is? So I look at her, and I mouth back to her, no. And then she mouths back. She goes, it's Ed Asner.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I look at him, and I started to touch him to see if he's real. And I looked back, and I went, it is. And so I'm sitting there going, I'm sitting here with Lou Grant of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I'm sitting here with Santa Claus. So I'm going back in time to as a child watching Mary Tyler Moore back in the 70s. So I'm just sitting there going, my parents would, oh my gosh. And so that dude, he's like 89, And he was on set from the first thing in the morning. And when I left at 9:30 that night, he still had several scenes to shoot. And that guy was a workhorse. So that was cool all day long. All the scenes were with him and April Bobley or whatever, one of the main characters. So that was kind of a cool day too, just to, be in the same room, watch him and watch her. They had these real long it was like these monologues they were doing. And so it was really, and I'm just like a doctor walking behind them and, all that kind of stuff. So
that's cool.
But that was really fun. So I do get geeked. I'm telling you, I don't do it for the money. I do it for the experience
and the food. You do it for the experience and the food.
Well, and I don't want to bring it down. I'm just being honest with you too. I really believe the reason God has allowed this to happen is from the very first time I went on a set. It's like I just sit there. Everybody's on their phones, everybody. So I just sit there and I wait for somebody to get off their phone. And I'll go, hey, who are you? Mary. Hey, where are you from? Charleston, South Carolina. Wow. So how long have you done this kind of work? 15 years. So do you do anything else? Well, I'm a waiter at this restaurant. I go, oh, okay. And so I just go in and I talk to people and I just try to build relationships with people and then I try to find something during the day, the people I connect with, I try to find something that I can honestly encourage them about. Like, honestly, I can say, hey, I've noticed this about you today. I just want to encourage you. And I'm being totally honest. So many of these people, it's as if nobody's being kind to them anymore. It's like people just start weeping when you tell them something good about themselves. And I don't talk about myself or who I am or what I do unless they ask. And at some point in the day or 2 or 3 day shoot, somebody will say, well, what do you do? And I'll go, well, I'm a pastor by calling and vocation. And then they tell me everything. I mean, I've known these people for a few hours. They tell me about their divorce. They tell me about their 18-year-old son that they hate. They tell me about their depression. And I will say to these people, like, you're telling me very personal stuff. And they go, well, I just feel like, and it's just amazing. I think people, without knowing it, they're looking for that light. They're looking for Christ, but they don't know it. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to be kind. And I've had people tell me, they go, well, I don't believe in God. And I go, okay. And I don't feel like my job in that moment is to say, well, here's the 7 reasons why you should. I just try to build a relationship with them. And before I leave the set, I'll say to every single person that I meet, that I talk to, I'll go, can I pray for you before we leave? And I've never had one person turn me down. And then I say, can I pray for you after, and so I become friends with these people on Facebook. People, they'll give me their number. And so every month or so, if I don't hear from them, I'll reach out to them. So just say, how can I pray for you? How's life going? And I really believe that's the main reason that God's been allowing me to do this, because there's a lot of people on these sets that don't know Christ. And so I'm not trying to be spiritual here, but I am a minister.
No,
but it's like, it's become a great, it's like I have my own church of ragtag people from all over the country that most of them don't have a church or a pastor, and I mean, I have people, like I had a lady the other day call me. I worked with her 2 years ago, and she called me to tell me her and her husband are going through a divorce, and she wanted me to pray with her. And I'm like, of all the people in her life, friends, family, there's something about us meeting where she felt comfortable telling me that. And so I love the geeky side of everything. And because there's something on Watchmen I saw that I was sitting and holding on the sound stage, and I'm sitting by this thing for the whole time, and I didn't realize till I got up to stretch, I walked around this thing they had built, and when I walked around to their side, I about died. I can't say what it is. I mean, I lost my mind, and I'm just like, this is incredible. And so I'm just, and so I can't really say much, but I texted both of my sons. I couldn't take a picture, but I texted both of my sons and a few friends and went, I just saw and it's incredible. And so, there's those moments. I love that, but I really love connecting with people on these sets and meeting people and and it's not just what I can do for them or how I can minister to them. And people have ministered to me. People have challenged me, pushed me, And it's just been a real fulfilling thing that I didn't see coming. There was no way I could see this coming, that this is what God had in store for me after, walking out of vocational ministry after so long. But
Yeah.
it's just been cool.
No, I get
I didn't
that.
mean to get serious.
No,
so.
that's cool because I get that. Like with the podcast, we'll have guests on, and the question always comes up because, well, first the question is, so how much you make doing this, and the response is always, oh, we don't make anything doing the podcast.
Right.
And they go, well, what do you do? And that question always comes up. I never have to say anything, and then I'll go into, I've been in ministry for. And as soon as I say that, they're just like, it's like a floodgate opens in their mouth, and they just start talking about, oh, I used to go to church, and this is why I don't, or blah blah blah, and they go through the whole thing, and like, there's been guests that we've had on here that I've got to meet in face to face, and they'll tell me their life story, and because they feel comfortable in doing it, and it's cool.
Exactly.
So I love building relationships with people that I would have never have met. I mean, these people.
Exactly. If I hadn't been obedient 3 years ago, I would have never had these experiences, never would have met these people, never would have built these relationships. And so I'm thankful, that God knew, He knew. I didn't know it was time for me to step out, but He knew. And I'm just glad that I was willing to say yes to that. Because I still loved what I was doing. I love students, and we'd been at Central Bearden for over 20 years. So none of my current students were even born when we got there. So we've been there for a long time. My sons grew up there. That's our family. They helped raise our sons, and so it caught me by surprise. But it's been very fulfilling and very goofy and very crazy. Just being in a place that's way outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I think as long as you walk into a place and you act like you know what you're doing, you can get by with a lot. If you just go, yeah, whatever, okay, yeah.
So I live my whole life. I just act like I know what I'm doing.
That's right. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
See, I have a similar experience as you guys, except that I try to avoid to tell people what I do. So I work in IT. So the question I get is, you know what? I got this problem on my phone, and I can't do this. So
or they break the wrist and walk away.
Right.
Break the wrist, walk away. Break the wrist, walk away.
Oh man, yeah. It's
Chris. You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I take little mini naps during.
I apologize for interrupting anything.
Oh no, it's fine. Just keeps my energy up a little bit. It's good.
Yeah, Chris is working on video games now, so he's making video games, animated video games.
Yeah.
So he's jumped from movies to video games because he.
Do I need to bow down?
Oh no. No, yeah.
I'm not bowing over here.
No, I actually I got to be an extra one time myself, but
that was the food.
well, it was basically when I was working on X-Men, they were doing this one shot. It's at the Lincoln Memorial with the big the big water thing out there. The reflective pool.
Yeah.
The reflecting pond.
Yeah, that
Forrest
thing.
Gump's. It's Forrest Gump's pond.
Forrest Gump's pond. Exactly. So they needed to fill that area with people walking around, and they hadn't filmed anybody, so they just grabbed some people, like animators, lighters, anybody that was around, and they just had us walk outside in front of this green screen, and then they took us and put us all around the pond. I mean, I'm like a speck on the screen, so you can't tell it's me, but I'm like, that's me. That's my little speck right there.
That's right.
That's my speck.
I feel you. Well, and it is funny though when you do end up on something and you're front and center, and me and my wife just start laughing. We just think it's hilarious, because we're and then I start talking, and it's the Southern accent. It's oh my goodness, nasally Southern accent, horrible.
So how did you feel when because some of these, I know some of your stuff is uncredited, but how did you feel the first time you saw your name scroll on the screen?
Well, I still haven't. To be
Oh,
honest,
you haven't? Oh, I figured that.
because most of the things I do for Jupiter, even when I have like a name role, Jupiter and these crime reenactment things, they don't even do a cast thing at the end.
Oh, boo.
Yeah,
Boo on
so
Jupiter.
yeah, but now, yeah. Suppose
No.
I'm doing this independent Christian movie that'll, who knows what, I'll have a credit on
Nice.
that. But
Oh, there you go.
and there's even some things that, and I kind of, I don't know, I don't really care about that. I just, to me, it's just kind of fun, and it's just interesting to see the opportunities I get. And
Yeah.
like I said, I want to do. I can't apply for everything because I can't afford to drive to Atlanta, for what they're paying. But if it's something that I think, I'd love to be on Stranger Things, or I'd love to be on this or that, then, I'll apply. And there's things I've applied for that I didn't get. Like I applied to be Ewan McGregor's stand-in for this Doctor Sleep movie, and
Oh.
and I was really hoping because I'd love to be a stand-in for somebody and do that, and have that experience, and but didn't get that. But they did send me a thing this August. They wanted me to be Kelsey Grammer's stand-in for this movie he did, and which I don't look anything like Kelsey, I hope, but I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, if he listens to this podcast, I'm in trouble. But,
Well, Kelsey Grammer is one of our biggest, supporters.
Yeah.
Unless
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kelsey. No, man, we're good. And but I couldn't figure out how to be in Atlanta for 2 months, Monday through Friday, and then be home. So, but I'm looking at that. I'd love to do that sometime and be a part of something like that. But to me, like, I'm holding on to all this stuff loosely. Like my family comes before any of this.
Yeah.
And like a year ago, there's a movie coming out with Michael B. Jordan in December called Just Mercy. So it's him and Jamie Foxx, and it's already getting Oscar buzz, and it's kind of a civil rights type movie. And a group that I'd worked with several times contacted me a year ago and said, "Hey, we want you to come down and do this scene. It's with 4 of the primary actors, and it's just you and one other background person." So they go, "This is a great scene to be in." But my son and his wife and my granddaughter were coming in on that Friday, and I'm like, I'm not gonna, because it's rare they get to come in. So I'm like, I would love to do that, but it's like it wasn't even a question for me. I'm like, I'm staying home. So I've had to pass on a few things, but I've also been turned down on things that I would like to have done. But that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So,
would you ever consider doing stuff with like heavy prosthetics that you have to put on and stuff, like Walking Dead type things?
I've been watching that, and I just part of the Walking Dead thing. I know that's on a lot of people's bucket list. If I could be a zombie on Walking Dead, and I would do that. But and they film usually in the summer, and it's already hot enough. And with all that stuff, I'm just getting. I don't know if I could handle that, but I do follow that because I've got that on a list of things I would like to do at least once is work on that. And so, but I did do. I got in on the last day of a Clint Eastwood movie in August, and so I'm real excited about that. And so it's a movie. It's on Richard Jewell, the guy that the '96 Olympic bombing in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I saw a trailer for that. I think.
Yeah, and he, he's the guy that found the bomb and alerted he was a security guard, alerted the authorities, and and so they got pretty much everybody out. I think one person died in the explosion, and then a news reporter had a heart attack running to the scene to cover it, but then the FBI and the media targeted him, even though he didn't do it. And even when he died, people still, even though he was exonerated, and I think it's Eric Rudolph, the guy that was, he'd hide in North Carolina, he'd go bomb a clinic somewhere, Birmingham, Atlanta, then he'd go hide, he'd bomb the Olympics, and even though he was convicted and Richard Jewell was exonerated, till the day he died, people said, "Oh, that's the guy that bombed the Olympics." And so it's a movie about his life, and I played. Last day of filming, I played one of Eric Rudolph's attorneys, and but just to be on set with Clint Eastwood was incredible because I mean he's actor, producer, director, and I mean, one of the first movies my dad took me and my brother to, it was a mistake. Was Dirty Harry,
Dirty.
because he was a high school teacher, and some of the guys in his class said, "Oh, Mr. Campbell, you need to go see it. It's awesome." So he went, "Okay." So he grabbed us. I was 9 years old. My brother was 8, and we went down to the theater, Strand Theater in Athens, and we sat there. And within the first 15 minutes, there was about 23 killings and other things going on. And my dad goes, "Let's go." And so I was sitting there. Clint Eastwood is standing by me, and they're kind of figuring out the scene and talking. And I'm just sitting there thinking, "Dad, I'm standing next to Outlaw Josie Wells. Dad, Dirty Harry, I can smell his pants. I can smell his shirt." And it's like, that was kind of a cool, kind of a cool moment just to watch him do what he does. And he's just such a great leader and calm and congenial with everybody. And it was just interesting to watch him work.
That's cool. So, since you said earlier how you love DC Marvel stuff, do you have who's your favorite superhero?
Well, I've always kind of said and alluded to the fact that it's Superman, and I just have always. I think I grew up with Marvel and DC, but I mean, when I was little, we would go grocery shopping every Friday night, and my parents would go to 2 grocery stores. They'd go to the White Store, which was kind of a regional chain, but like 2 buildings up from that was a local grocery store called Harrods. So we would go into White Store. They'd get us some animal crackers and like a knee-high grape. But as soon as we finished that, me and my brother would run up to Harrods, and they had a magazine rack, but then they had one comic book rack. And we would sit on the floor at Harrods and read comic books. And if we had money or, got sometimes mom and dad would buy us a comic book. And so we started, back then we didn't collect them to collect them. We collected them to read them. And then we would trade them with friends. And so, we just started getting this pile. And then older guys that lived in our neighborhood, as they got too old for their comic books, which makes no sense to me. That's just they would pass their comic books on to me and my brother. So we just had stacks and stacks. And so I just remember loving Superman, the ability to fly. I used to, fantasize as a child, the ability to fly. We go on a 600-mile trip to my grandparents, and I would, in the summer with no air condition, 3 kids, 2 parents, 2 dogs, all the windows rolled down, 100 degrees outside, and I'd just put my hand out the window like my little man, and I'd pretend like he was flying, and he could zoom up to Virginia, see what was going on, and zoom back and say, your grandparents are excited you're coming. I know this sounds weird, but
no, it's cool.
I love Superman, Batman, and Robin, but I would draw pictures of Spider-Man and just anything I could get. I would draw pictures. I wouldn't trace them. I would freehand these pictures and stuff. And but I've thought about it recently. I think my favorite character is Robin. Because I think I identify more with a person who comes alongside of somebody. I don't know if that makes sense. Plus, I just like his colors. I just love the old, the green, red, and yellow of the, old Dick Grayson Robin from back when I was a kid. And
I'm totally with you there. I always loved Robin, and I always kind of identified more with the sidekicks of the
with
comics. And yeah, I love Dick Grayson, but yeah, when I started reading comics and everything, Dick Grayson had become his own hero. He was Nightwing, and there was another Robin, and he had died, and so I was more with the third Robin, and he was I've just kind of growing up with him and stuff. But yeah, I always loved Robin. One Halloween, I was Robin. Ryan was Batman.
Yeah, I always identified with the billionaire. I'm like, I'm more like a billionaire.
yeah.
Playboy, billionaire Playboy.
Yeah,
Well, when I was in the 60s, they would put out Halloween costumes, but they weren't like the legit Batman. And it's not like it is now. But 2 guys that lived across the street from us, Kelly, I can't believe I'm remembering his name, Kelly Keelan and Mike Webb, their moms, they were they were a year older than me. Their moms sewed them from scratch one of them a Batman costume and one a Robin, and they were
Wow.
legit.
Hmm.
Man, if I ever coveted over anything in my life, it was those two. And man, that was, of course, the Adam West, Burt Ward Batman came out, and it came out in color, but we had a black and white TV. And I remember the first time we were at my uncle's house for a Campbell family Christmas party, and they had the TV on, and Batman came on while we were there. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe just the colors and and I didn't care then. I was little, so I didn't care about the cheesiness of anything. This, for the first time, here's these superheroes that I loved on the screen in these vibrant colors. So, I've just always, I guess, always loved the DC people just a little bit more. And of course, my dream is that because I raised my sons, like, it was a great time to raise them because they had better action figures, late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
They did the Nightfall thing. They did the Death of Superman thing.
Yep.
The Tim Drake Robin came out. So I got, I started collecting all those, thinking I'll pay for their college with all this, which I didn't do. I've still got them in my closet. Like, nobody does that. I've got baseball cards and comic books, but I kind of got back into all that. But my dream, because where else can they go? The movies that need to be made is the DC Marvel crossover, the Versus, which they've done several times in the history. They did one back in I guess when my boys were little, and I collected all those. And then they did those Amalgam where they, mixed. It's like, what if Batman and Wolverine were mixed? So it's like a dark, and they put out these individual shot comics like Dark Claw, and then it was Bruce Wayne of S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of Nick Fury, and it was a Captain America. Yeah, Spider-Boy, Captain America, Superman blend. So I got all of those when those came out. And I think, to me, that would be the most awesome. Forget all this. Is Spider-Man going to be? Is the X-Men? Bring them all together. Just throw it all.
I'm sure Disney will buy it one day, and then they'll just own it all.
That's true. Maybe that's a dumb idea, but
no, it'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be cool to see.
I mean, what better could you do? I mean, what other crossover are you going to do that would be that awesome? Nothing.
They at least need to do like animated movies of the Amalgam universe with.
Yes. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So we're about at an hour, but I have a very pressing question that I think this will be a good thing to wrap up.
Okay.
You mentioned Christmas a while ago.
Christmas. Yes.
One of the things that I've loved for years, I think we still have them somewhere, is your Christmas cards. They are the most amazing things I've ever seen.
I'm going to cry. You're so nice.
No. So Tommy and his family, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you still do crazy Christmas cards, but every year we'd get in the mail after, we were married, these Christmas cards from you, and they were always like National Lampoon's Vacation or some theming. How did that all get started? What happened? How did that happen?
Well, that's a good question. The way it started was, one, I'm just a weird person, but secondly, we got a Christmas card years ago, 30 years ago. We got a Christmas card from some friends from college, and their Christmas card was a picture of their brand new several $100,000 home. Like, they're not in the picture. It's just a picture of their house. So they're basically saying to us, which, we're living in a seminary apartment, with that, in the kitchen, you couldn't even stretch your arms out both ways. And it just kind of bothered me that somebody would send me a Christmas card of their house. So the next year, we were in historic Jamestown Village. And so this tour person, me and my wife and our two little boys, and the tour person said, this is the official junkyard of colonial Jamestown. And it was just crap everywhere. And I said, hey, Becky, let's do a family picture in the junkyard. And she goes, okay. So, because that's normally what we gravitate towards. So we take a picture. When we got them back, I said, you know what? I go, I've got an idea for our Christmas card this year. So we sent that picture, and it's like, a thatch shack behind us and all this garbage junk, colonial junk. And so we sent a card of us in front of this junk, and we said, from our home to yours for Christmas, and sent that out and sent it to our friend and circled home. So it started as a little act of rebellion. And once we did that, then the next year we're like, well, we can't do a traditional, like I kind of got tired too. We get cards from people and everybody looked perfect. And like they all have matching clothes and the fireplace is going. And I'm like, that's not our family. So the next year, I think we did a Beatles Abbey Road kind of thing. We went down to UT campus and I grabbed one of my youth interns and said, you're going to take some pictures of us. And we did that. And then we just started thinking of, okay, what's something we do that's different, bizarre? It's like, we just wanted because when people get Christmas cards, they just kind of go, Barnett, whatever. That kid's ugly. They just kind of ditch it. They don't even really. And so we wanted people to have to stop and go, what in the world? Like, what is this? What are they thinking? This has nothing to do with Christmas. And it would just cause people to stop for a minute, kind of wonder or laugh or something. So over the years, it just kept evolving to just crazy stuff. And I have a friend here, a good friend of mine, who's a professional graphic artist. So I would come up with the ideas, and then he would figure out how we could make that happen. And so, I mean, we did, I think the year that the last Matrix movie and the last Lord of the Rings movie came out, we did a mashup of the Matrix and the Lord of the Rings. So we said, looking for the one and awaiting the return of the king. So it worked out perfect.
Yeah.
And Becky and I were like Matrix people. And Austin and Will were, Austin, we dressed him up like Legolas, and Will was a hobbit because he was still little and he had long bushy hair. And we just made his feet look bigger and put hair on him. And he was holding a ring and a sword. And so it just escalated from that. And they just got kind of crazier and funnier. And of course, one year we put a family that wasn't us on the card in the Christmas clothes with the tree. And we said, something like, don't be afraid of change in 2002 or something. And it was just this, we grabbed two of our neighbor kids in our neighborhood. And then this guy, my graphic artist friend, and his wife, and we said, come over, we're going to take your picture. We're going to use you all as us for the Christmas card.
Nice.
Done convenience store holdups and superhero. We did a superhero. It's been crazy. So, but we doing that. Last year was our first year without a card.
Oh.
But we just figured it was time for a break.
You know what you should do now? I'll give you an idea. This one's for free. When you're on some of these, yeah, this is for free.
Let me get the pen.
When you're on these sits for background, just take a picture with some of the extras and to make that your Christmas card. That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. Because I don't want to say anything, but I meet some very interesting people.
Just think, Christmas card with you and the 6'5" albino Elvis guy that you talked about. That would have been perfect.
Or just a picture of the back of the head of Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would be sued.
Yeah.
Oh, law. That is a good idea.
Yeah, so there you go.
But I'm always afraid. They tell us we can't take pictures on sets. So I get scared. Like I watched them carry a guy off a set one time, off of a movie set, and it really scared me. So, because they do, like they catch you taking pictures, and some people enforce it more, but they will take your phone. They don't delete the pictures. They reset your phone.
Oh.
Like they wipe your phone and then they escort you off of the set.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe you shouldn't do that then.
Yeah.
Just take a picture in your car when you get to set.
I can see him in the parking lot. There'll be some other extras walking out, and he'll roll
I've got
down
my
his
phone
window.
under my arm.
Come here, I want to take your picture. Get in my car.
Get my van.
Oh man! Well, this has been a blast. I'm glad we got this worked out for you to come on, and I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. So,
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it and had a good time. And I don't really know. For me, this is fun. I don't know this is much fun for other people to listen to, but I just have had a blast, and just looking forward to what's coming and opportunities that'll come up. So
yeah, no, it's really cool, and it's cool to hear about, because not many, and that's what we like to do on here. We like to get guests on that are in the entertainment business, but don't get the recognition that they deserve. And, you know, background actors make the movie, make the TV show. You know, if you don't have them, then you just have a couple of guys standing around doing dialogue, and that's
exactly
it.
Well, and because I say sometimes I'm an insignificant necessity. It's kind of the way I see myself. You know, I'm in many ways insignificant, but I'm needed for, you know, for that scene. The only problem with all this is it has ruined the way I watch TV and movies. Like I can't. Like even my wife now, she goes, "Look at those people. Look at them in the background. That's horrible." Like, she doesn't know. She's not been. And like I go, "I know," and then she'll go, "Look at that. You could have done that." And so it's like we're watching the background people now, and we don't even care about the actors. We're just like, "Oh, whatever. They're a dime a dozen. Look at these background people. They are getting it, you know." Or look at that dude. He's looking at the camera. He knew where the camera was, and he's making sure he gets that, you know, face looking out. So.
Yep. Well, if you know of anybody that needs a bald-headed, bearded 41-year-old, you just pass them along to me.
I tell you what, it doesn't take much to slip into that world. I tell you, because they need all types of people constantly. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'll need to look into that. See it down in Houston.
I'm sure there's stuff in Houston.
Sure there is. Yeah.
Oh well. Well, cool. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you
again. Yeah.
I know it's been fun.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I talk too much.
No, it's perfect. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Katrin doesn't like to talk, so
I
don't.
And
they just don't let me talk.
What?
Well, now you're going to have to do an episode where you don't have a guest, so that you all can say, "Hey, here's a nice thing. We get to talk this time."
Next week we'll just have Katrin. It's the Katrin show, and it's just him by himself talking for an hour.
It'd be the most boring thing in the world.
No, it'd be wonderful. I'd listen.
Just talk about that framed picture of flowers behind you.
Don't you love that?
Isn't that great? Crooked? It seems a little.
It's it's there. Is that better?
Okay, that's better.
I'm in my dining room. So.
Yeah, my Meemaw had that same painting.
Great. It's my wife's. Not your Meemaw.
We sold it at the estate sale.
That's where they got it.
Yeah. That's where I got it. Yeah. That's funny.
Well, again, thank you, Tommy, for being on. And this has been I'm Geek episode 124. And you are welcome back anytime, Tommy. Anytime you want to come on the podcast and talk, you're welcome to come on. Just let us know.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
And listeners, we will talk at you next week. This has been I'm Geek. Good night, everybody.